Hi, I'm Curious Cass, and this is Curiosity Junkie. Today's episode is part 2 of Love, Acceptance, and Belonging with Nancy Haboush. Join us as we dive into unbecoming all you are so you can create the you want to be. All right, so going back to belonging, and you find this path that led you to the spirituality and opening up to it's not that restrictive religion piece. It opened up a bigger world for you.
Yeah.
And I think during this time you've been journaling the whole time, right? Like you're a huge avid journaler. You actually gave me my first valuable journal that I still have, and I love it. It's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like what's coming up in all of your journaling and the process, and where did that kind of take you? And
yeah, I think the cool thing about journaling is that the stuff that is heavy on your heart doesn't just come out in everyday conversation, right? If you have any kind of a journal or meditation practice, which I'm going to make a little side note on meditation. When you're a personality like mine and someone says, you should sit in a corner of your room and be quiet for 15 minutes, I'm like, without a drink, without a person to talk to, like alone? Like, why would I do that?
Silence?
That 15 minutes lasts, it's like a half a day for most people. 15 minutes feels like a half a day for me. I am not good at the sitting still and meditating. I'm really not. And the hard part about that is that how do you ever hear your inner voice or the voice of God or the voice of the universe, like whatever that is for you? And I call that God. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I have learned over the years to, again, quit trying to measure up and do what everybody else is doing in meditations. And I advise a lot of my clients to meditate because it works for a lot of people. My meditation is way more active than that. Mm-hmm. I can put on a song, and within 10 minutes, I feel so much more connected to myself and to God that the answers reveal themselves of whatever I'm stuck on, where I'm at. Music works for me, or I need to go for a walk, and I need to be in nature, or I need to go out on the water. We've take a paddleboard and go out on the water and just be alone with your thoughts. But I have to be doing something. Like I just cannot do it stationary. And I finally quit beating myself up about that. And if I'm journaling and I'm writing, to me, that's a whole thing. Like I have this great little space in my room with a yummy chair that I love to sit in, and the colors are great. And I have, some wonderful essential oils that are smelling up the room, and a candle's lit. And I might use oracle cards to help me meditate and focus on something in particular. And all of that together has become a ritual that really means something to me, that both centers me back to who I am and opens me up to what am I missing? Where are my blind spots? Who needs me today? What do I need today? And I do think that we all have to find that for ourselves, whatever that looks like, because we're so busy and we're running at 100 miles an hour, and you can't run from it forever.
It will catch you and tackle you and take you down.
And it hurts. It hurts when it happens like that. Mine is, little mini breakdowns where I literally hit a wall and I tell my family I'm out, and I leave for 3 days, and everyone worries that I've gone off the deep end or I'm going to drive off the cliff. I've done that a couple of times in my life. And when I let it get that bad and it goes that long, that's always an indicator that I have poured myself out again and again and again for other people and completely ignored my own needs. And I haven't taken very good care of myself when I get into that space. Nobody else's fault. It's totally my fault. And it's my tendency, if I just do more, if I just do enough, if I just make a difference for enough other people, then somehow through osmosis, it'll get in. But you can't do your work by working on other people. I mean, that's what I think some people think that that's true. It's like, oh, if I help enough other people, then it'll help me. Like even back in the day of Dale Carnegie, if you help enough other people get where they want to go, you'll get where you want to go. Well, that's kind of true. Yeah. Like there is joy. And like when you opened up and said, that I'm one of your mentors and helped you get, like, there's nothing that brings me more joy than knowing I made a difference in somebody's life, and it helped open the next door for you to find out who you are. I love that work. Yeah. But I can't discover me in your work. Like I have to do my own work to find me. And oh my God, it took forever.
Yes. Yeah. And
So
that's,
I would say that, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and that's a huge message is, and that's the reason I spend so much time in and around self-love, because until you go inside you spend time there, you figure out what are your triggers, what is still bubbling there, what does that child need to hear that it never got to hear. What, when you start working through that stuff, it's amazing how your relationships change, what you attract changes, like completely amazing how different it is.
And the way you feel.
Yes.
Right? Like just the difference of the feeling like your body is in chaos all the time because you're constantly fighting a flow of energy that's positive and life-giving and affirming versus I'm not enough, so I'm going to keep running, keep helping, keep whatever. But I'm looking out here, like it's always external. It's like the answer's over here. No, it's over here. No, and I mean, I must look like a crazy person half the time. At least I feel like I must look like, or I hide it really well. I don't know which is true. But the minute that you stop and actually hold court with yourself and can actually look at all that stuff, it's like, whoa, yeah, I missed that. I missed that. And you can see it, but you will never see it if you don't slow down. And so, and that does not come easy for me. I do not slow down well. I would rather run. Right? It's hard. It's hard. It's counterintuitive.
Yes. And that's for probably the last, I would say, solid 4 years. I've been spending a lot of time in that self-love arena and just exploring and reading and talking to people and learning. And I don't think it's something I'll ever stop doing because everyone does it different. But until you can literally say, I love you and feel it to yourself, you're going to struggle to really do good work for somebody else.
I agree. And Cass, the last 4 years for you, like the difference, like it's so funny how sometimes we can't see our own growth, but we can see growth in other people. And then we can go, oh, I have a little bit of that. Like I can see a little bit of that, but the peace in you, like you radiate joy and love and peace. Where if like collectively, the two of us 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been right. And we're everywhere. And there's nothing, I mean, I love that energy, but the energy was coming from a place of panic.
Yes.
Not from a place of centeredness. And I think that's the difference. I see it in you easily. I love how it shows up in you.
Thank you. I love hearing that. It's just, yes, I do. I feel completely different. And it's funny. I was just talking with my friend Richard last night, and we were talking about that and how you do manifest because your world is high energy or stress or just chaos. You just naturally attract it and you don't even understand how or why you're doing it until you can slow down and really stop to think about what is it that I want in my life. And then you start seeing it show up, and it's a little, I don't want to say unnerving, but it freaks me out every once in a while when I realize like, I'm actually bringing this in to my life because I've changed these things about me. So now I'm attracting this, or these people are showing up in my life and they're calm and centered and grounded. And I'm like,
it's a little scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a little.
And every now and again, you'll find yourself, at least this is true for me, still sabotaging it. It's like, man, I haven't had any good drama for a while. And all I have to do is buy a new house and try to work with landscaping and, boom, drama appears.
Absolutely. I start a podcast and a YouTube channel and it's not sabotage, but I go, there's still that piece of me that needs an energy outlet. I call it creative. Like I do have to have a creative outlet where I can pour that energy into something focused and specific and still keep me grounded and centered and at peace.
It works pretty beautifully together.
Yeah, it is.
And if you imagine starting this podcast 5 years ago with where you were versus what it looked, I mean, it would have been fun. It would have been different.
Yes. Yeah.
And it would have been fine. It really would have. But it's even better now because you're coming from such a pure place that the context of it all is, I mean, it's beautiful. So it's cool.
It's that message of love. And I love that you kind of touched on that it just comes down to love. And I think when we all get to that place, and not all of us ever will, but if I can encourage anyone out there to really find that peace that says you really get that it's about love, everything changes.
Yeah.
Just like
to get there, you got to unpack all the things that get in your way, which is all the unbecoming, right? Like if I believe this, then I can't also believe that. So I'm going to have to let go of that belief to hang on to the new one, right? And I think that the growth and the pain that comes from letting go of what you know and what's familiar and what's safe and adopting something new, a new way of thinking, a new way of being. And I mean, it's not like you don't lose relationships when you do that, because you do.
Right.
You lose some of the intimacy. You lose some of the, I would say the other thing about belonging that's interesting is it's the likability. It's for me to be liked by you, I have to be this certain way, and the relationship matters. I mean, sometimes it's family. And so it's like, am I okay pretending to be something I'm not so that you like me and I fit in? Yes. Or can I be okay being around people that I don't have that much in common with, and we don't believe the same things, and feel perfectly happy not fitting in? And that was probably the hardest, to be able to go home and know that it's okay that I don't fit in. Yeah. And to fit in would mean I'd have to let go of some things that are totally who I am. And so fitting in would be wrong. Right. But I can love and I can accept and I can adore all of those people without having to be like them.
Yes.
Because there's nothing wrong with them and there's nothing wrong with me.
I love that. That's beautiful right there, is when you can recognize there's nothing wrong with them. It's not about them. And there's nothing wrong with you being different and who you are.
Yeah.
That's what it's about when you discover that. And that is hard when you talk about belonging with family and being able to go back and sit in a space and have compassion for their beliefs and the way they show up, and also have compassion for yourself. And I think that is probably one of the biggest hurdles when it comes to belonging that people face. We have the peer pressure and the societal belonging, and that's easier to pull away from.
Yeah.
The family unit, you're so bonded and connected as you grow up, and their expectation is you're still that person you were when you left at 18 or whenever you left. Yep. And you're so not that same person. It's very difficult. It is very difficult.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm pretty confident I'm hard to love, because you go from being, girls are a certain way and boys are a certain way. And I don't believe any of those things. And so, and I've always been, too loud, too much, too opinionated, too stubborn, too whatever. And, right. And so I think understanding that I get that I'm probably hard to love if you don't, and that I might not be appreciated for my strong beliefs and strong opinions. So I'm probably more cautious about reading the room and being careful not to, I know who doesn't want to hear those things. And if someone was actually open to a conversation about seeing a different view, I'm the first one to be on board. And now in an older version of myself, probably am a little more politically correct about how I do that, because again, I still don't think I have the only truth. I don't think what I believe is the truth. I don't think there's such a thing as truth other than love. And I believe in the universal truth of God or supreme being, that we're not in this alone. That's a truth for me, but I also believe that's not everyone else's truth. And so to believe that I have the commodity of truth and everything I believe is in this truth bubble and everything that you believe is outside of that, I mean, that would be a really shitty world to live in.
Right.
And I respect that some people do live in that world. They do believe they own the truth, and it's okay that that's what's true for them. And so respecting that and knowing, we're just never going to talk about those kinds of things because it just doesn't matter. And letting go of that rather than my need to convince or persuade. I'm kind of an influential being and I like influencing people. Yes. And I think what I've learned is that there's a time and a place where that's appropriate. And there's other times where just loving people is all you need to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
What would you, well, let's talk a little bit about what you do for a living, what your coaching is. I know that's a big thing. I have attended your Vision Journal workshop in Colorado, and it's amazing. I don't know.
That's my creation project.
Yes. Yes. And that takes a lot from you, but you do it beautifully, and you feel the love coming off of you at those. So I'm sure that does feel amazing for you as well as all of us participating. And then I know you're working on a couple of other projects. I don't know if you want to share the stuff you're not quite ready to throw out there yet.
Yeah, sure. You know me, I'm an open book. So my day job is as a Vistage chair. So Vistage is an international organization, 22,000 members worldwide. We do peer coaching with CEOs and key executives. And our focus with that is to really help leaders become a better version of themselves at work and at home. And so it elevates the conversation because you get to work with your peers. So it's groups of 15, and it's the same 15 people every month working on their problems and opportunities. And it's just such a gift. I was a member of Vistage when I ran Mr. Neat's Formal Wear, and it changed my life, changed my thinking because, you have this great idea and then 14 people poke holes at it and you go, oh, okay, back to the drawing board.
Yeah, okay, maybe that's not so great. Yeah.
Exactly. But it made me better. Yeah. And so I know what it did for me, and I love being able to provide the space for other leaders to get to have that same experience and that same growth through the work. And then I also have a coaching practice, 212-degree coaching. I named it that because the water boils at 212 degrees, and it's that one little difference between 211 and 212 that makes every bit of difference in your outcomes. And so I really enjoy working with people who are struggling with the gap between who they say they want to be and how they're actually showing up. It seems I also have a specialty around people who are stuck. I'm pretty good with stuck, for everybody except me. I'm just kidding. Although that's kind of true, right?
I think that's how it is for most people. Right. They're good at what they do, advising others. That doesn't always mean we take our own advice.
Right. The stuckness. So I coach virtually. I also coach in person one-on-one, but that's any type of client. Like I'm working with a couple of young people who are trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up. And then I'm working with people who are in their third phase of their careers, trying to figure out what's next. And I love that work. And then, like you said, the passion project of working with vision journals, I really believe that if you can't visualize and kind of make a claim of where you're going and why you're going there, it's really difficult to, I believe in manifestation. You said manifest, and everything I've ever written down or put in a journal seems to come true. So I'm super careful what I put in there now because I have enough evidence that if you put it, then the stuff just kind of starts flying at you and you better be ready for it. So, so I love that work, and that we do an annual retreat in person. And then I do monthly check-ins online as well as in person for people who can and have buckets of stuff to build your books with. And I believe in a journal versus a board. Like I think boards are fine. The problem is they sit someplace stationary and they're static. Like you create it one time and then that's it. Mm-hmm. Where a journal is super active, you're updating it all the time. And so it kind of becomes part of this. Like when I get stuck now or I'm struggling and I'm not feeling inspired, I just open up my book and there'll be a page or two that I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just love the way it makes me feel. Like, some pages are just about colors and energy, and it usually just shifts my thinking in a new way. So I love that work. And then my new project that I'm guessing you're alluding to is when COVID first hit back in March and things just went bananas, you had a little more time to think than I normally do. And I woke up from this pretty lucid dream about, I've loved these oracle cards and they usually have a spiritual twist to them. But I woke up with this idea that I wanted to create a leadership deck of oracle cards where, when I'm struggling with a business decision or an employee issue, or I'm just stuck in my own head and I'm having a hard time being creative, that I could go to this deck of cards and I could, intuitively draw a card and be inspired and help me move forward on a decision or a direction. And so it kind of came to life that I was going to do like these 7 major characters that are things that are required of a leader. And then all these traits underneath each one of those characters would become part of the deck. And so it's a passion project with my son. Jacob's doing the creative work on it. So he's got all the artwork and he's doing the research on us getting the deck published. And, I get my own way. I write for days and then I stop and then I think, oh, who the hell do I think I am that I could do this? That's one of those voices that's still alive and well in my head. Who do you think you are? And I heard that early on in my life. And so that's another one of those dumb tapes that like, you know who I am? Right. So anyway, we're hoping we get that done by the end of the year. That's our target. But I'm really excited about it just to, be able to offer something creative and some insights. And it's much more questions than telling. So like the spirit of the card is about asking questions to make you kind of dig deep in where are you stuck in this one particular area. So yeah.
Right. No.
You'll be one of the first to get to see the deck. So.
I know, I'm so excited. I think it's really a great way to kind of combine those two worlds.
Right.
Because the business side of you is really who you are. That's you're so good at helping people in that business world level realm, whatever you want to call it. And now that you've kind of found that intuitive side, listening to it and helping other people listen to it when it comes to work, like, I just think it's fantastic. Yeah, it's a great piece.
Well, thank you. And it's funny because I just had a meeting with a client yesterday and I've been working with her for probably 4 years. And one of her biggest challenges, she's a CEO of a nonprofit. And one of her biggest challenges has always been, like, who am I? Like, I'm not good enough. What if somebody finds out that I don't know what I'm doing? Like this isn't, gosh, like I got to be doing this wrong. And she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. And, that voice in her head is so strong that in our session yesterday, she said, I finally believe it. Like I really am enough. And I made her go back through, I want the top 7 things that have happened in the last year that have got you here. Like, give me the stories. Tell me what happened when you had a reality check of, oh yes, that was one. Yep. That. And at first she's like, I can't think of it. And she goes, oh, well, okay, this happened. And here, and that validated, like, look, gosh, holy cow, they came to me. Like that's a validation. And after she kind of repeated these 7 stories, just watching her confidence, watching her like just kind of revel in this space of, I really am enough. Yeah. Like it was like, what's better than that? I have the greatest job in the world.
Right. Yes, you do. You do. You get to see people when they come to that moment of clarity and confidence and I am enough, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because now it's like, imagine what's next. Oh. Now that you actually accept that, what are you going to do next? And one of her first comments was, I'm going to take more risks. Mm-hmm. And she's going to change the world. Like it's the coolest thing. I love it. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's, I always think of myself and go, yep. Yeah. When you get to that point, you're just not afraid to take the step to do the thing that you think about. You just do it. And you're like, if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I'm going to learn something.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I'm going to learn something.
No such thing as failure, because at the least you learn and adapt and pivot and do the next thing.
Yeah. So for young people or people who are in this phase of their life where they're examining and questioning belonging and who they are and fitting in, what advice, what do you leave them with?
I would say don't wait so long. And because I think, it's all timing, right? And there's a reason it took me this long and all the lessons and all the things that happened because it took me this long. That's just how it goes. Yeah. And I would also say that the answer is not out there, right? You have to spend the time doing the work inside. And that means you have to find people who can help you get there. No, I don't think anybody figures that journey out without help. So a mentor, a coach, somebody that you can kind of hit your wagon to that you can let, okay, they've got it figured out. Like, I think, my healer, Tree Stanley, like without her, I wouldn't have taken the next steps. Like, she opened me up to possibilities that I just wouldn't have gotten there. And I found her through another friend. Like, these things happen in the most bizarre way. And so I think part of it is trust your instincts. And when someone shows up in your life, don't assume it's an accident, because there are no accidents. So when somebody shows up, they're there for a reason. Someone has sent them to you. Trust it and just explore what's the possibility here. Because I almost said no to my first session with her because I thought it was a little wacky.
Yeah. Like,
right?
This is so far outside of anything.
Right. I was uncomfortable.
Ever.
But whatever really wonderful things happen when we're comfortable? Hardly anything, right?
Nothing, right? Yeah. Be uncomfortable.
Good to be uncomfortable. That's my advice. There you go.
Right. Okay. Well,
if it makes you uncomfortable, you're probably onto something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. If it's scaring you or you're getting like fear built up around it, do it.
It's probably a good sign.
If you weren't doing what you're currently doing profession-wise, what would you love to attempt?
So 20 years ago, I would have told you I wanted to be a TV anchor, because that was always like this. I just thought it was the coolest job. And I used to do our promotional stuff for Mr. Neat. So I got to sit like at the news desk for Channel 7 and 9 a few times. And that was cool. I really liked it. But I wouldn't do that now. And I'm, probably past our time there. So I think I would say, literally, if fear was not a thing, and how much hard work it would be, being a speaker on topics that I care about. Like, I've always done some speaking, but it's been very targeted crowds, inside industries that I've worked in. But I love being on stage. Like, I really enjoy, and the energy and the impact of, like, there's people that, like, if you're around a bunch of people, it just sucks the life out of you and shuts you down, and you're probably more introverted. And there's people like me who, the more people, the more energy. Like, when I walk into a room full of people, I'm on. Like, it's like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like, right, there's all these people, and I get energy from people. So I think the idea of, like, if you look at Rachel Hollis's, going from, this very small thought of what she wanted to do and you look at her success now, and like that kind of a story where I think she's helped a lot of women kind of come into their own. I think she's a classic example. And Brene with doing really serious work, because she's a researcher. So her work is on a whole new level. But that extreme of a Rachel Hollis and a Brene Brown, from I'm just telling my story and telling it like it is. And, maybe it's going to help some people realize they can do whatever they want to do, which is Rachel. And Brene hitting a really hard, psychology, and just how do we dig in and figure out this whole shame and vulnerability piece, and what does that mean to us? I love the breadth and scope of their work, and that fascinates me. And so, I'm probably not too old for that. Lots of people at any stage of their life figure that out. So I do think that it will probably come through authoring a book, which I've been working on a book for a long time, the book idea, and it just keeps evolving. And so one day I'm actually going to start writing it instead of talking about it. And I do think that couples nicely with being able to kind of go out and share your story. And I think my argument is always, and my fight has always been, I have a passion around helping girls, like teenage girls, get out of their own way. So there's part of me that has always wanted to do that work more intimately with teenagers, to help them fast track through crap that I wish someone could have helped me fast track through. Because I do think they're our future. They're brilliant. When I look at my 16-year-old, I can't even imagine what she's going to do with her life. Mackenzie's 27. And when I look at the version of her at 27, I mean, I was in my 40s before I knew the stuff she knows already. And so I feel like someone has to be helping our girls navigate their way in this world and become exactly who they want to be, without having to do that at the expense of men.
Yes.
Like, this idea that, we're women and let's go. I believe all that, but not at the expense of putting men down. Like, how can we all just live together and see each other as people, and not as male, female, or Republican, Democrat? Like, if we could just take all those labels out and get out of the freaking boxes and just be people, and love and accept and be where we are. If I could help with any level on that kind of a message, from our young people to people who are open to challenging their thinking, that would be really a fun career.
Absolutely. And as you were talking about large group and being on stage, I go back to all the manager meetings that you facilitated and dynamic. Like I remember going to the first one going, who is this woman and how can I be like her?
Oh, that's the sweetest thing ever. Thank you.
You just, you do. You absolutely walk in a room and own it. So yes, I can encourage you to keep moving forward with being on stage. You would make a great TED Talks.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the whole get out of your own way to do that. But I think I would really enjoy that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I have too many topics. That's always the thing, right? It's like, what would you talk about? 10,000 things. And I would try to do all of that in 10 minutes.
Yes, exactly. You have 18 minutes. Go.
Great.
Well, Nancy Haboush, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom and the journey through belonging and being okay with not fitting into the box. That's
thank you.
A beautiful journey. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure. I really just appreciate and value you and all that you are and what you're doing with this podcast. So thanks for having me. It was a treat.
Yay, thank you. And to everybody out there, thank you all so much for tuning in, listening, watching, and stay safe and stay curious. Bye.